You have probably poured at least one of these down your drain this week without thinking twice, and it could be slowly wrecking your pipes from the inside out. In this video, you are going to learn exactly what to keep away from your drains and why it matters so much. After over 25 years of working on residential plumbing, I have seen the same preventable disasters over and over again. Today, we are covering 15 things you should never pour down your drain, plus a bonus tip at the end. And if you have cats in the house, number 13 is one you really need to hear. The first thing on this list, and honestly the biggest offender of them all, is cooking oil, grease, and fat. This is the number one cause of household drain blockages across the country, and it is not even close. When you pour hot grease down the sink, it feels like a liquid, so your brain tells you it is fine. But as soon as that grease hits the cooler pipes below, it starts to solidify. It coats the inside, walls of your drain line like a layer of wax, and every time you do it again, that layer gets thicker. Over time, it narrows the pipe so much that water can barely pass through. Now add in food particles, soap residue, and anything else going down the drain, and you have got yourself a serious blockage. Plumbers call these fatbergs, and clearing one out with hydrojetting can cost you anywhere from $200 to $500 or more. The fix is simple. Keep an old coffee can or jar next to the stove. Pour your grease into it, let it cool, and toss it in the trash. If you are dealing with a pan that has a thin layer of oil, wipe it out with a paper towel before you wash it. That one habit alone will save you more drain calls than almost anything else on this list. The second thing you should never send down your drain is coffee grounds. This one surprises a lot of people because the grounds seem so fine and harmless. You rinse out your French press or dump your filter, basket into the sink, and it looks like everything just washes right through. But here is what actually happens. Coffee grounds do not dissolve in water. They are gritty, dense, and they settle fast. Once they hit the trap under your sink, they start packing together like wet sand. Over time, that buildup turns into a thick plug that water cannot push through. And if there is any grease already coating your pipes, the grounds stick to it and make the problem twice as bad. Plumbers regularly pull out clumps of coffee sludge that have been compacting for months. A single drain clearing for this kind of blockage usually runs somewhere between $150 and $300. The better move is to toss your used grounds straight into the trash. Or if you are into gardening, coffee grounds work great mixed into compost or sprinkled around acid-loving plants like blueberries and azaleas. Just keep them out of the sink, and you will avoid one of the most common and completely preventable clogs out there. The third item on this list is one most people never suspect, and that is flour. It seems so harmless sitting there on your counter. But flour and water together create a paste. Think about it. That is basically how you make glue. When you rinse a mixing bowl coated in flour, that paste forms right inside your pipes. It sticks to the walls, hardens over time, and starts catching every other bit of debris that flows past it. The real danger is that flour clogs build up slowly. You will not notice anything wrong for weeks or even months. Then one day your kitchen sink barely drains, and you have no idea why. A plumber snakes the line and pulls out a thick, pasty mess that has been collecting in your trap and beyond. The cost to clear it usually falls between $100 and $250, depending on how far the buildup has spread. The solution could not be easier. When you are done baking, scrape your bowls and utensils into the trash before washing them. If you have got flour dusted across your counter, wipe it up dry instead of pushing it toward the sink with a wet cloth. Keeping flour away from running water is the whole game here, and once you start doing it, it becomes second nature. If this is helping you out, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It helps get this video in front of more people who could use the info. All right, let's keep going. The fourth thing that should never go down your drain is rice and pasta. Both of these are starchy foods that absorb water and keep expanding long after you have finished eating. When you scrape leftover spaghetti or rice into the sink and run the water, those pieces do not break down. They swell up. Pasta especially turns into a sticky, swollen mass that clings to the inside of your pipes and traps everything else flowing through. Rice is just as bad. Even a small amount that seems like nothing can settle in your drain trap and slowly expand until water flow drops to a trickle. The starch from both of these foods also creates a gummy film that coats the pipe walls, making future clogs even more likely. Clearing a starch-related blockage typically costs between $100 and $300, and it is one of the most frustrating calls a plumber gets because it is so easy to prevent. Before you rinse your plates, scrape every bit of leftover rice and pasta into the trash or a compost bin. If you are draining a pot of pasta water, use a strainer in the sink to catch any loose noodles. That one extra step keeps your pipes clear and saves you from a completely avoidable headache. Number 5 on the list is medication and pills, and this one is less about your pipes and more about what happens after it leaves your house. A lot of people flush expired prescriptions or leftover pills down the toilet, thinking the water treatment system will take care of it. It will not. Modern water treatment plants are designed to handle biological waste and common contaminants, but most are not equipped to filter out pharmaceutical compounds. That means traces of antibiotics, hormones, painkillers, and other drugs pass right through and end up in rivers, lakes, and eventually drinking water sources. Studies have detected measurable levels of medication in public water supplies across the country, and the long-term effects on both ecosystems and human health are still being studied. Flushing medication also introduces chemicals that can disrupt aquatic life, interfering with reproduction and development in fish and other organisms. The right way to dispose of expired or unused medication is to take it to a pharmacy or a local drug take-back program. Most communities run these at least once or twice a year, and many pharmacies have drop-off bins available year-round. If neither option is available, the FDA recommends mixing the pills with coffee grounds or kitty litter in a sealed bag and placing it in the household trash. Whatever you do, keep it out of the drain. The sixth thing you should never pour down your drain is paint, whether it is latex or oil-based. After a weekend project, it is tempting to rinse your brushes and rollers right in the sink. But paint is loaded with chemicals, pigments, and binding agents that have no business going into your plumbing or the water supply. Oil-based paint is the worst offender. It does not mix with water, so it coats the inside of your pipes and hardens into a stubborn layer that is extremely difficult to remove. Latex paint is water-soluble when wet, but once it starts drying inside your pipes, it becomes a rubbery film that narrows the flow path and traps debris. Either type can lead to expensive damage, with pipe replacement costs ranging from $300 to over $1,000, depending on how far the paint has traveled. Beyond your plumbing, paint that reaches the municipal water system introduces toxins that treatment facilities are not designed to handle. Many local codes actually prohibit pouring paint down any household drain, and violations can result in fines. The right approach is to wipe excess paint off your tools with newspaper or rags before cleaning them. For latex paint, rinse brushes in a bucket and let the solid settle before disposing of the water properly. For oil-based paint, use the appropriate solvent and take the waste to a hazardous materials collection site. Your pipes and your local water supply will both be better for it. The seventh item on this list is one the packaging wants you to believe is safe, and that is flushable wipes. The word flushable on the label is technically true, in the sense that yes, you can physically flush them down the toilet. But that does not mean they break down the way toilet paper does. Toilet paper is designed to disintegrate within seconds once it hits water. Flushable wipes are made from synthetic fibers that hold together much longer, sometimes for hours, sometimes indefinitely. Once they get past your toilet, they can snag on rough joints, tree roots, or any imperfection inside your sewer line. They bunch up, combine with grease and other debris, and form massive blockages that plumbers call fatbergs. These clogs do not just affect your house either. Municipal sewer systems across the country spend millions of dollars every year clearing wipe-related blockages from public infrastructure. On a household level, having a plumber snake or hydrojet, a wipe clog out of your line, can cost anywhere from $150 to $500 or more. The solution is straightforward. Throw wipes in the trash every single time. It does not matter what the label says. If it is not plain toilet paper, it does not belong in the toilet. Keep a small wastebasket next to the toilet and make it a habit. That one change can prevent some of the most stubborn and expensive clogs you will ever deal with. The 8th thing to keep away from your drain is eggshells. There is a common myth that eggshells are good for your garbage disposal because they supposedly sharpen the blades. That is not how disposals work. Most disposals use impellers, not blades, and eggshells do nothing to improve their performance. What actually happens is the shells get ground into tiny granular fragments that mix with a thin membrane lining on the inside of the shell. That membrane is stringy and sticky, and it wraps around the disposal components and clings to the inside of your pipes. The granular bits then act like sand in your drain line, sticking to any grease or residue already coating the walls. Over time, this combination creates a stubborn, gritty blockage that slows your drainage and eventually requires professional clearing, usually in the $100 to $200 range. The better option is to collect your eggshells separately. They are excellent for composting because they add calcium to the soil. You can also crush them and scatter them around garden beds to deter slugs and snails. Some people even dry them out and grind them into a fine powder for use as a natural supplement. Any of those options give your eggshells a second life that is actually productive, instead of letting them quietly wreck your plumbing from the inside. Number 9 might surprise you because it is something people pour down the drain on purpose to fix a problem, and that is chemical drain cleaners. Using one of these products once in a while for a minor slow drain is one thing, but relying on them regularly is a recipe for disaster. Most commercial drain cleaners use highly caustic chemicals like sodium hydroxide or sulfuric acid to eat through clogs. The problem is, they do not just eat through the clog, they also attack your pipes. Older metal pipes, especially cast iron and galvanized steel, are particularly vulnerable. The chemicals corrode the pipe walls from the inside, thinning them out and creating weak points that eventually crack or leak. Even PVC pipes can be damaged by the heat these products generate during the chemical reaction. Repeated use over months or years can lead to full pipe failure, and replacing a section of drain line can cost anywhere from $500 to $2,000 or more depending on where the damage is. The worst part is the chemical cleaners often do not even solve the real problem. They might open a small channel through the clog, but the bulk of the blockage stays in place and rebuilds quickly. A much better approach is to use a simple drain snake or a plunger for minor clogs. For tougher blockages, call a plumber who can clear the line mechanically without damaging your pipes. And for maintenance, a monthly flush with boiling water or an enzyme-based cleaner is far safer and more effective long-term than any bottle of chemical cleaner sitting under your sink. The 10th item on this list is one you have probably dealt with more than once, and that is hair. It does not matter if it is from shaving, showering, or brushing. Hair is one of the most common causes of bathroom drain clogs, and it is incredibly effective at creating blockages. A single strand is harmless, but hair never goes down the drain one strand at a time. It collects in clumps, and once those clumps hit the inside of your pipe, they tangle together and form a net. That net catches soap scum, skin cells, toothpaste residue, and anything else flowing through. Within a few weeks, you can go from a perfectly clear drain to one that barely moves. The real trouble starts when hair combines with soap buildup, because traditional bar soap contains fats that solidify inside pipes. Hair binds to that solidified soap and creates a dense, sticky mass that a plunger alone cannot fix. Getting a plumber out to clear a hair clog usually costs between $100 and $250. The prevention here is cheap and easy. Pick up a mesh drain cover or a silicone hair catcher for a few dollars at any hardware store. Place it over your shower and bathroom sink drains and clean it off after every use. If you shave over the sink, lay down a paper towel or a small cloth to catch the trimmings and toss them in the trash. These small habits keep hair out of your pipes entirely, and they cost almost nothing compared to a service call. Number 11 is something so small you have probably never even thought about it, and that is produce stickers. Those little oval labels stuck to your apples, bananas, avocados, and tomatoes seem completely insignificant. But they are made of plastic or vinyl, and they are coated with adhesive on the back. When you peel them off while washing your produce and let them slide down the drain, they do not dissolve. They do not break down. They travel through your pipes and stick to the walls, joints, and bends along the way. One sticker is not going to cause a catastrophe, but over months and years, dozens of them accumulate. They catch grease, food particles, and other debris, and they contribute to buildups that narrow your pipe diameter. Beyond your home, these stickers cause real problems at water treatment facilities. They clog screens, gum up pumps, and add plastic waste to systems that are not designed to handle them. Several municipalities have flagged produce stickers as a growing nuisance in their treatment infrastructure. The fix takes less than a second. When you are washing your fruits and vegetables, peel the sticker off first and stick it to a paper towel or drop it directly in the trash. It is such a small thing, but multiplied over a lifetime of grocery shopping, it makes a real difference for both your plumbing and your local water system. The 12th thing you should never put down any drain in your house is motor oil and automotive fluids. This includes engine oil, transmission fluid, brake fluid, coolant, and anything else that comes out of your vehicle during maintenance. Some homeowners pour used motor oil down a floor, drain in the garage, or even into a utility sink, thinking it will just wash away. In reality, this is one of the most harmful things you can do to both your plumbing and the environment. A single gallon of used motor oil can contaminate up to 1 million gallons of fresh water. It coats everything it touches inside your drain line, and it introduces toxic compounds that municipal water treatment plants are not equipped to remove. In most jurisdictions, disposing of motor oil through any household drain is illegal and can result in significant fines from the EPA or your local environmental agency. The proper disposal method is simple and usually free. Most auto parts stores, service stations, and municipal recycling centers accept used motor oil and other automotive fluids at no charge. Pour the used oil into a clean, sealed container and drop it off at any of these locations. Many communities also hold hazardous waste collection events where you can dispose of all automotive fluids at once. There is no good reason to put this stuff down a drain, and the consequences of doing so are far more serious than most people realize. Number 13 on this list is one that catches a lot of pet owners off guard, and that is kitty litter. Even brands that are labeled as flushable can cause serious problems in your plumbing system. Traditional clay-based litter is designed to clump when it contacts moisture. That same clumping action happens inside your pipes, and it can create rock-hard blockages that are extremely difficult to remove. Flushing even small amounts over time allows the litter to accumulate in your drain line, especially at bends, joints, and low points where flow slows down. Flushable litter made from corn, wheat, or wood fiber is marketed as a safe alternative, but plumbers will tell you it still expands and clumps enough to cause problems, especially in older homes or houses with septic systems. Septic tanks rely on a careful bacterial balance to break down waste, and kitty litter disrupts that process. There is also a health concern most people overlook. Cat waste can contain a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, Tox o plasma gondii, which is not killed by standard water treatment processes and can pose a risk to marine life in immunocompromised individuals. The safest approach is to bag your used litter and put it in the trash, regardless of what the packaging says. A clog from kitty litter can easily cost $200 to $500 or more to clear, and if it damages your septic system, you are looking at repairs that run into the thousands. The 14th thing you should keep out of your drain is dairy products, including milk, yogurt, cream, cheese, and anything else in that category. Pouring a little leftover milk down the sink seems completely harmless, but dairy has a very high biological oxygen demand, which is a measure of how much oxygen is needed to break it down. When large amounts of dairy enter the water system, the decomposition process consumes massive quantities of dissolved oxygen. That oxygen depletion suffocates fish, insects, and other aquatic organisms that depend on it to survive. In the United Kingdom, businesses can actually be fined for disposing of dairy products through their drains, because the environmental impact is so well documented. Here in the United States, the regulations are not as strict at the consumer level, but the science is the same. Your local wastewater treatment facility was not designed to process high volumes of dairy, and dumping it down the drain adds unnecessary strain to an already overburdened system. On the plumbing side, dairy products also contribute to buildup inside your pipes, especially when they combine with grease or other residues already coating the walls. Sour milk and yogurt are particularly sticky and tend to cling to pipe surfaces. If you have dairy that has gone bad, the best options are to use it in composting if your setup allows it, or seal it in a container and place it in the household trash. For small amounts, you can also repurpose sour milk in baking recipes, where it actually works as a buttermilk substitute. Either way, keep it out of the drain and out of the water system. The 15th and final thing on this list is one that every DIYer needs to hear, and that is concrete, grout, and joint compound. After a weekend tiling project or a drywall repair, it is easy to rinse your tools and buckets in the nearest sink or even a bathtub. But these materials are designed to harden, and they do not stop hardening just because they are inside your pipes. Even a thin slurry of concrete or grout that looks watered down enough to flow freely will begin to settle and cure inside your drain line. Once it sets, it is essentially stone. No chemical cleaner, no drain snake, and no amount of hot water will remove it. You are looking at cutting out and replacing the affected section of pipe, which can cost anywhere from $500 to $3,000 or more, depending on accessibility and how far the material traveled. Joint compound is slightly more forgiving because it stays softer longer, but it still creates a dense sludge that accumulates in traps and low spots. The correct method is to let excess material dry in the bucket or on your tools, then scrape it off and throw it in the trash. For tools that need wet cleaning, rinse them in a dedicated bucket outside. Let the solid settle to the bottom. Pour off the clear water carefully onto a patch of ground away from any drains, and dispose of the hardened residue in the garbage. Never let any cementitious material enter your household plumbing. This is one mistake that has no cheap fix, and every plumber has a horror story about pulling a section of pipe that was completely filled with cured concrete from a homeowner who thought a quick rinse would be fine. All right, here is the bonus tip that pros actually use, and it is something most people have never thought of. Once a month, boil a full pot of water, about 1 gallon, and slowly pour it directly down your kitchen sink drain. Follow it up with about half a cup of plain white vinegar. The boiling water melts and loosens any grease or soap buildup clinging to the pipe walls. and the vinegar helps break down organic residue without damaging your pipes the way chemical cleaners do. It takes about 2 minutes, costs almost nothing, and it is one of the most effective maintenance habits a homeowner can adopt. Plumbers rarely talk about it because it is so simple, but consistent monthly flushing keeps your drain lines flowing freely and dramatically reduces the chance of a major clog developing. Think of it like changing the oil in your car. It is not exciting, but it prevents the expensive problems. That one simple routine can save you hundreds of dollars in service calls over the life of your home. Thanks for watching the whole thing. If you got something out of this, leave a like, subscribe for more, and check out the other videos on the channel.